The Galactic Council chamber hums with anxious chatter as the most influential alien leaders convene. The air thick with a palpable sense of unease. Whispers of a mysterious alien vessel, a craft of unparalleled power and technology, have reached their ears, shattering the fragile peace that has long defined the galactic landscape. Vexar, the Crixan High Counselor, rises from his seat, his commanding presence demanding the attention of the gathered representatives. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, we find ourselves faced with a most unsettling development. His voice, usually tinged with decisive authority, wavers ever so slightly. The murmurs in the chamber grow louder, a collective unease spreading through the assembly. Vexar raises a clawed hand, silencing the chatter with a gesture. Reports from our farthest outposts speak of an alien vessel, the likes of which we have never encountered. Its power is said to be immense, its technology advanced beyond our comprehension. Talia, the Aseri matriarch, rises from her seat, her regal bearing betraying a hint of trepidation. This is a most grave matter, Vexar. If what you say is true, then we are facing a threat unlike any we have dealt with before. The delicate balance of power in the galaxy may very well hang in the balance. The Vought hierarch, Enar, nods solemnly, his weathered features reflecting the weight of the situation. Indeed, Talia, we cannot afford to ignore this revelation, for the consequences of such an unknown entity could be catastrophic. We must act, and we must do so with the utmost caution. Vexar's clawed hands grip the edge of the council table, his expression darkening. Then it is settled. We must dispatch a diplomatic envoy to make contact, to ascertain the true nature and intentions of this mysterious alien vessel. The fate of the Galactic Council may very well rest upon the success of this mission. Talia raises a hand, her voice tinged with concern. But Vexar, we must choose our emissaries carefully. Any misstep could provoke a conflict that we may not be prepared to face. The potential threat this vessel poses cannot be underestimated. Enar nods in agreement, his ancient eyes reflecting a lifetime of hard-won wisdom. Talia speaks with reason. We must select our most seasoned diplomats, those with the skill and experience to navigate this delicate situation. The future stability of the galaxy may depend on their ability to establish meaningful dialogue with this unknown civilization. Vexar's mandibles click with a mixture of urgency and concern. Then let us waste no more time. I will oversee the assembly of the diplomatic envoy, and they shall depart for the coordinates of the alien vessel immediately. We cannot afford to let this threat loom over us, unchecked. The chamber erupts into a flurry of activity as the council members begin to make the necessary preparations. Talia exchanges a worried glance with Enar, her azure skin flushed with a mixture of anticipation and dread. "May the stars guide our emissaries," she murmurs, her voice barely above a whisper. "For the fate of the galaxy may very well rest upon their shoulders." With a heavy heart, the Galactic Council chamber falls silent, the weight of the impending task hanging thick in the air. The stage is set for a momentous encounter, one that could forever alter the course of the galaxy. The diplomatic envoy, a diverse delegation of seasoned ambassadors, arrives at the designated coordinates with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. Their sleek craft cuts through the vast expanse of space, the occupants peering intently out the viewports as they approach the source of the Council's unease. Terra, the Aseri envoy, grips the armrest of her seat, her azure skin flushed with a mixture of awe and concern. "By the goddess, I have never seen anything like this." The reports did not do it justice. Graf, the Crixan diplomat, clicks his mandibles in a gesture of unease. Indeed, the sheer scale of that vessel is unlike anything in the galactic fleet. We must exercise the utmost caution in our approach. As the diplomatic craft draws closer, the diplomats find themselves confronted by a truly awe-inspiring sight. Looming before them is the colossal warship, its sleek, angular design radiating an unmistakable aura of strength and sophistication. The diplomats are struck by the vessel's sheer size, dwarfing even the largest ships within the Galactic Council's arsenal. Terra's brow furrows in a mixture of fascination and trepidation. This civilization, whoever they are, clearly possesses technology that far exceeds our own. We must tread lightly, lest we provoke a confrontation that we are ill-equipped to handle. Graff nods in agreement, his mandibles clicking with a sense of foreboding. Terra speaks true. We must initiate first contact protocols and make our approach with the utmost caution. The fate of the Galactic Council may very well rest upon the success of this mission. With a slow, graceful maneuver, the diplomatic vessel draws closer to the alien warship, its communication systems hailing the unknown craft. After a tense moment, a response crackles to life, the voice of the alien captain cold and devoid of emotion. Identify yourselves and state your purpose. Terra takes a deep breath, her diplomatic training taking over. I am Terra, senior envoy of the Galactic Council. We come in peace, seeking to establish first contact with your civilization. We mean you no harm, and wish only to learn about your people and your remarkable vessel. A brief pause, then the reply comes, clipped and unyielding. Your presence is noted. Maintain your distance and await further instructions. Graff exchanges a troubled glance with the other diplomats, his mandibles clicking with a mixture of frustration and trepidation. They are not receptive to our overtures. This does not bode well. Terra raises a hand, silencing her colleague. Patience, Graff. We must give them time to consider our request. These are uncharted waters for all of us. She turns her gaze back to the view screen, her expression pensive. If they are as advanced as we suspect, they may have their own reasons for caution. The diplomatic vessel hovers in silence, the diplomats waiting with bated breath for the alien captain's response. Minutes stretch into what feels like an eternity, the tension palpable within the confines of the craft. Finally, the communication system crackles to life once more. You will be permitted to send a small delegation aboard our vessel. Remain unarmed and comply with all instructions. Any deviation from these terms will be met with immediate retaliation. Terra exchanges an apprehensive glance with her colleagues, then nods firmly. Understood. We accept your terms and request a safe passage to your ship. As the diplomatic craft begins its approach, the diplomats brace themselves for the momentous encounter that lies ahead, their minds racing with a mixture of trepidation and anticipation. The fate of the Galactic Council, and perhaps the galaxy itself, may very well hang in the balance. The small diplomatic delegation, comprising Tara, Graff, and 2 other seasoned envoys, steps onto the alien warship's docking bay, their senses assaulted by the sheer scale and technological sophistication of the vessel. The air hums with an undercurrent of power, and the diplomats cannot help but feel a twinge of unease as they take in their unfamiliar surroundings. Terra leads the way, her azure skin betraying none of the apprehension she feels. With a steady stride, she approaches the towering figure of the alien captain, who stands silently, his gaze hard and uncompromising. Greetings, Terra begins, her voice projecting a calm and diplomatic demeanor. On behalf of the Galactic Council, we thank you for granting us this audience. We come in peace, with a sincere desire to learn about your people and your remarkable vessel. The alien captain's response is curt and devoid of warmth. You have been permitted to board, but do not mistake this as an invitation to negotiate. I will answer your questions, but you will provide me with information in return. Graff, the Crixan diplomat, steps forward, his mandibles clicking with a mixture of frustration and caution. Very well. We are prepared to share what we can, but we also have pressing matters to discuss. The Galactic Council is deeply concerned by the reports of your vessel's capabilities. We seek to understand your intentions and to explore the possibility of peaceful coexistence. The alien captain's eyes narrow, a glimmer of something akin to disdain flickering across his features. Your council holds no sway over us. We are a civilization unto ourselves, and we have no desire to involve ourselves in your petty political maneuverings. Terra raises a placating hand, sensing the growing tension. Then let us start with the basics. What is the name of your species? Where do you hail from? The alien captain pauses, his gaze flickering between the diplomats. We are known as humans, a species that has remained isolated from the so-called galactic community for centuries. As for our homeworld, that is not information I am willing to share. Grath's mandibles click with frustration, his patience wearing thin. Humans, you say, we were led to believe your kind were mere myth, or perhaps long extinct. And yet here you stand, commanding a vessel of unparalleled power. Surely you can understand our curiosity and our desire to establish peaceful relations. The alien captain's expression hardens, his voice laced with an undercurrent of warning. Your curiosity is of no concern to us. We have no interest in joining your precious council, nor in sharing our technological secrets. We are a sovereign civilization, and we will defend our independence at all costs. Tara's brow furrows, her diplomatic training faltering in the face of such unwavering defiance. But surely there must be some common ground we can find. Trade, cultural exchange, even technological collaboration. These could all be mutually beneficial. The alien captain's response is swift and uncompromising. Enough. Your offers hold no value to us. You will leave this vessel immediately, and you will convey a message to your council. Humanity will not be subjugated. We will tolerate no further interference in our affairs. Grath steps forward, his mandibles clicking with barely contained anger. You cannot simply dismiss us like this. The Galactic Council will not idly stand by while. Guards, remove these delegates from my ship, the alien captain commands, cutting off Grath's protest. As armed human soldiers approach, the diplomats exchange a tense, apprehensive glance. Tara raises a hand, silently signaling her colleagues to stand down. With reluctance, they allow themselves to be escorted back to their vessel, the weight of failure heavy upon their shoulders. The alien captain watches them go, his expression cold and uncompromising. The diplomatic overtures have failed, and the gulf between humanity and the Galactic Council seems wider than ever. The diplomatic envoy returns to their vessel, their faces etched with a mixture of frustration and trepidation. Tara, her azure skin flushed with the weight of their failure, turns to her colleagues, her voice tinged with a rare hint of uncertainty. We have clearly underestimated the resolve of these humans. Their captain is unbending in his refusal to cooperate, and he has made it abundantly clear that they have no desire to join the Galactic Council. Grath, the Crixan diplomat, paces the confines of the craft, his mandibles clicking with barely contained anger. Unacceptable. We cannot simply allow this unknown power to remain unchecked, to defy the established order of the galaxy. The Council must be informed of this development immediately. Tara raises a placating hand, her expression grave. I share your concern, Grath, but we must tread carefully. Provoking these humans could have catastrophic consequences. Their vessel's capabilities are beyond anything we have encountered before. We cannot afford to underestimate them again. The elderly Voth hierarch, Inar, nods solemnly, his ancient eyes reflecting the gravity of the situation. Tara speaks wisely. We must return to the Council and present our findings, but we must also consider our next steps with the utmost caution. This humanity poses a threat to the delicate balance we have maintained for centuries. Grath's mandibles click with agitation, but he nods reluctantly. Very well. Let us away, then, and convey the full weight of this revelation to the Council. They must understand the severity of this situation. As the diplomatic vessel departs the human warship's vicinity, the diplomats fall into a tense silence, their minds racing with the implications of what they have witnessed. The existence of this powerful, isolated civilization has shattered their understanding of the galaxy, and the questions it raises are as unsettling as they are numerous. Back at the Galactic Council chamber, the envoy's report is met with a stunned silence. The assembled leaders, their faces reflecting a mixture of disbelief and concern, struggle to comprehend the gravity of the situation. Vexar, the Crixan High Counselor, breaks the silence, his voice laden with a rare note of uncertainty. Humans, you say. a species we believe to be mere myth or long extinct. And yet, they command a vessel of such power and sophistication that it defies all our understanding. Talia, the Asari matriarch, rises from her seat, her regal bearing betraying a hint of unease. This is a most unsettling development. If what you say is true, then we are facing a civilization that has remained isolated from the galactic community for centuries, yet possesses technology that surpasses our own. The potential threat they pose cannot be ignored. The Voth hierarch, Inar, nods solemnly, his voice laden with a wisdom born of centuries. Indeed, these humans have made it clear that they have no desire to join our ranks, nor to share their technological secrets. They have rejected our overtures of diplomacy and cooperation, and have issued a stern warning against any further interference in their affairs. Vexar's clawed hands grip the edge of the council table, his expression grim. Then we have no choice but to take this threat seriously. The balance of power in the galaxy may very well hang in the balance. We must devise a course of action that will ensure the safety and stability of the galactic community, while avoiding the risk of open conflict with this formidable new player. The chamber erupts into a cacophony of discussion as the council representatives debate the merits of various strategies, each one more cautious and convoluted than the last. Talia raises a hand, silencing the room once more. Enough. We must act, but we must do so with the utmost care. The fate of the galaxy depends on our next steps. Reluctantly, the alien captain agrees to relay the Galactic Council's request for an audience with human leadership. The diplomatic envoy waits with bated breath, the weight of uncertainty heavy upon their shoulders. They know that the fate of the Galactic Council, and perhaps the galaxy itself, may very well depend on the outcome of this critical encounter. Days pass in tense silence, the diplomats consumed by a maelstrom of anxious speculation. Will the humans heed their call, or will they dismiss the Council's overtures as they had done before, cementing their isolation and the potential for future conflict? Finally, a response arrives, and it is both surprising and unsettling. The humans will grant the diplomatic delegation an audience, but on their own terms. A small group, no more than 4 envoys, will be permitted to board the human warship and meet with their enigmatic commander. Terra, the Asari diplomat, exchanges a tense glance with her colleagues, her azure skin flushed with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. This is an opportunity we cannot afford to squander. We must tread carefully, but we must also be prepared to seize any chance at establishing meaningful dialogue. Graf, the Crixan envoy, clicks his mandibles in a gesture of unease. I do not like this. The humans have made their disdain for the Galactic Council abundantly clear. What guarantees do we have that they will even listen to our proposals? Inar, the venerable Voth hierarch, raises a withered hand, silencing the debate. We have no choice but to accept their terms. The alternative is to risk further escalation, and that is a path we cannot afford to take. We must go, and we must do so with the utmost diplomacy and caution. With a deep, steadying breath, Terra nods in agreement. Then it is settled. Graf, Inar, and I will comprise the diplomatic delegation. We must be prepared for anything, but we must also remain steadfast in our resolve to find common ground, if such a thing is possible. The small envoy boards the human warship, their senses once again assaulted by the sheer scale and technological sophistication of the vessel. The air hums with power, and the diplomats cannot help but feel a twinge of unease as they are escorted through the labyrinthine corridors. Finally, they are ushered into a grand, dimly lit chamber, where a towering figure stands silently, his gaze piercing and uncompromising. This is the human commander, the embodiment of the power and resolve that has so unsettled the Galactic Council. Terra steps forward, her diplomatic training guiding her movements. Greetings, human commander. I am Terra, senior envoy of the Galactic Council. We have come, as requested, to seek an audience and to discuss the possibility of establishing peaceful relations between our civilizations. The human commander's expression remains impassive, his voice devoid of emotion. You have been granted this audience. But understand this. We have no interest in joining your Galactic Council, nor in sharing our technological secrets. We are a sovereign civilization, and we will defend our independence at all costs. Grath, his mandibles clicking with a mixture of frustration and caution, interjects. Then what is the purpose of this meeting? If you have no desire for cooperation or coexistence, why have you agreed to see us? The human commander's gaze shifts to the Crixan diplomat, his eyes narrowing ever so slightly. Because you have forced my hand. Your persistent meddling and demands for transparency have left me with no choice but to make our position known, in the hopes that it will deter further interference in our affairs. Terra raises a placating hand, her diplomatic instincts kicking into overdrive. We mean no offense, Commander. We simply seek to understand your civilization, to explore the possibility of mutually beneficial exchanges. Surely there must be some common ground we can find. The human commander's expression darkens, a glimmer of barely suppressed anger flickering across his features. There is no common ground to be found. Humanity will not be subjugated, nor will we be drawn into your petty power struggles. You will leave this vessel, and you will convey a message to your council. Stay out of our affairs, or face the consequences. The diplomats exchange a tense, apprehensive glance, the weight of their failure heavy upon their shoulders. As they are escorted back to their vessel, the realization dawns that their mission has been an unmitigated disaster, and that the future of the Galactic Council, and perhaps the galaxy itself, may very well hang in the balance. The small diplomatic delegation, dejected and shaken by their encounter with the human commander, returns to the Galactic Council chamber, their faces etched with a mixture of trepidation and concern. Terra, the Assyrian voy, steps forward, her azure skin flushed with the weight of their failure. Esteemed counselors, we have met with the human commander as requested. I regret to inform you that our efforts to establish peaceful relations have been met with an unyielding rebuff. Vexar, the Crixan High Counselor, leans forward, his clawed hands gripping the edge of the table. Explain yourself, Terra. What transpired on that vessel? What did this human commander have to say? Terra takes a deep breath, her diplomatic training struggling to conceal the unease in her voice. The human commander made it clear that humanity has no desire to join the Galactic Council, nor to share its technological secrets. He views our overtures as attempts at subjugation, and has issued a stern warning. Humanity will defend its independence and sovereignty at all costs. Gasps of shock and murmurs of concern ripple through the chamber as the assembled leaders grapple with the implications of Terra's words. Talia, the Assyri matriarch, rises from her seat, her regal bearing betraying a hint of trepidation. This is most troubling news. If these humans possess the technological prowess you describe, and they are as resolute in their defiance as you claim, then they pose a grave threat to the delicate balance of power in the galaxy. Einar, the venerable Voth hierarch, nods solemnly, his ancient eyes reflecting the weight of the situation. Indeed, we must consider the ramifications of this revelation carefully. A civilization of such advanced capabilities, one that is unwilling to cooperate or be drawn into our affairs, could upset the very foundations upon which the Galactic Council has stood for centuries. Graf, the Crixan diplomat, clicks his mandibles in a gesture of barely contained frustration. Then we must act decisively. We cannot allow this human civilization to remain unchecked, to flaunt its power and defy our authority. The Council must devise a strategy to bring them into the fold, by force if necessary. Terra raises a placating hand, her expression grave. I fear that is not a viable course of action, Grath. The human commander made it clear that they will defend their independence at all costs. Any attempt to subjugate them by force would be met with catastrophic consequences. We simply do not possess the military might to confront them head-on. Vexar's clawed fist slams against the table, the sound echoing through the chamber. Then what do you propose, Terra? We cannot simply allow this threat to loom over us, unchallenged. The very stability of the galaxy hangs in the balance. Talia raises a hand, silencing the Crixan High Counselor. Vexar, we must tread carefully. Rash actions could provoke the very conflict we seek to avoid. She turns her gaze to the assembled representatives, her voice laced with a rare note of uncertainty. We must devise a strategy that will keep this human civilization isolated, but secure. We cannot risk open confrontation, not when the stakes are so high. The chamber erupts into a cacophony of debate, as the counselors argue over the merits of various approaches. Terra exchanges a grim glance with her colleagues, realizing that the fate of the Galactic Council, and perhaps the galaxy itself, may very well rest on the outcome of this critical decision. The Galactic Council chamber echoes with the frantic debate as the assembled leaders grapple with the implications of the diplomatic envoy's report. The discovery of the human civilization, with its advanced technology and unwavering defiance, has shaken the very foundations of the galactic order. Terra, the Asari envoy, stands before the council, her expression grave as she recounts the details of their ill-fated encounter with the human commander. The human made it abundantly clear that they have no desire to join our Galactic Council, nor to share their technological secrets. They view our overtures as attempts at subjugation, and they have issued a stern warning. Humanity will defend its independence and sovereignty at all costs. Vexar, the Crixan High Counselor, leans forward, his clawed hands gripping the edge of the table. Then we have no choice but to act decisively. This human civilization poses a grave threat to the stability of the galaxy. We must devise a strategy to bring them into the fold, by force if necessary. Talia, the Asari matriarch, raises a hand, her regal bearing commanding the room's attention. Vexar, I understand your concern, but we cannot afford to be rash. The human commander made it clear that they possess capabilities that far exceed our own. Any attempt at outright confrontation would be disastrous. Einar, the venerable Voth hierarch, nods solemnly, his ancient eyes reflecting the weight of the situation. Talia speaks with wisdom. We must consider the potential consequences of such an action carefully. The human civilization may be isolated, but they have demonstrated a resolve that we cannot afford to underestimate. Grath, the Crixan diplomat, clicks his mandibles in a gesture of frustration. Then what do you propose, Einar? Are we to simply allow this threat to loom over us, unchecked? The very future of the Galactic Council may hang in the balance. Terra raises a hand, silencing the heated exchange. Perhaps there is a middle ground, a path that will allow us to contain this human civilization without resorting to open conflict. She pauses, her brow furrowing in thought. We could pursue a strategy of cautious diplomacy, one that aims to keep humanity isolated but secure, while avoiding the risks of direct confrontation. Vexar scoffs, his clawed hands slamming against the table. Diplomacy. After the humans have so clearly rejected our overtures, you would have us kowtow to their demands, Terra. Talia interjects, her voice firm. No, Vexar, that is not what Terra is proposing. She suggests we maintain a delicate balance, one that acknowledges the human civilization's power and independence, while preventing them from becoming a destabilizing force in the galaxy. Einar nods in agreement, his weathered features reflecting a rare glimmer of hope. Yes, that may be the wisest course of action. We must tread carefully, but we cannot afford to ignore this threat. The future stability of the Galactic Council may very well depend on our ability to contain the human civilization without provoking outright conflict. The chamber falls silent as the counselors ponder the implications of Terra's proposal. Vexar, his mandibles clicking with reluctance, finally nods in acquiescence. Very well. We shall pursue this path of cautious diplomacy. But make no mistake, should the humans dare to challenge the authority of the Galactic Council, we will not hesitate to respond with the full force of our military might. Talia rises, her expression grim but resolute. Agreed. Let us hope that our efforts to contain this human civilization will be successful for the sake of the Galactic Council's future and the stability of the galaxy itself. As the counselors begin to make preparations for their new strategy, The weight of uncertainty hangs heavy in the air. The fate of the Galactic Council, and perhaps the galaxy itself, now rests on their ability to navigate this delicate and unprecedented situation. The human commander, having returned to the colossal warship, stands silently on the bridge, his gaze fixed upon the endless expanse of space beyond the viewports. The meeting with the Galactic Council's diplomatic envoy has done little to assuage his concerns about the wider galaxy's ambitions. Turning to his second-in-command, the commander's expression hardens with a resolute determination. Prepare the ship for departure. We will set a course for the edge of explored space, beyond the reach of the Galactic Council's influence. The officer nods, his movements swift and efficient. Understood, sir. May I ask where we are headed? The commander's lips curl into a thin, humorless smile. To the coordinates where we first encountered that alien vessel. It's time we established a more permanent presence in that region, one that will serve as a deterrent to any further meddling in our affairs. Sensing the gravity of the situation, the officer hesitates for a moment before voicing his concerns. Sir, surely you don't intend to. The commander raises a hand, silencing the unspoken question. I do, and I will. Humanity has made its position clear, and now it is time to demonstrate our resolve. The Galactic Council will learn that we are not to be trifled with. Swallowing hard, the officer nods and relays the orders, setting the massive warship in motion. As the vessel surges forward, the commander turns his gaze to the stars, his mind racing with the implications of their actions. In the Galactic Council chamber, the assembled leaders are deep in discussion, their expressions etched with a mixture of caution and determination. Telia, the Asari matriarch, addresses the room, her voice laced with a rare hint of uncertainty. The strategy is in place. We will maintain a vigilant watch on the human civilization, tracking their movements and developments, while carefully avoiding any direct confrontation. Our diplomatic course will continue to make overtures, seeking to bring them into the fold without provoking their wrath. Vexar, the Crixan High Counselor, clicks his mandibles in a gesture of grudging acceptance. It is a risky plan, Talia, but I see little alternative. The human commander made it clear that they will defend their independence at all costs. We cannot afford to underestimate their capabilities, nor the consequences of a direct conflict. Einar, the venerable Voth hierarch, nods solemnly, his ancient eyes reflecting the weight of the decision. Then so be it. We must tread carefully, for the fate of the galaxy may very well hang in the balance. The human civilization must be contained, but not provoked. As the council members finalize the details of their cautious strategy, the human commander stares out at the receding stars, his gaze hardening with a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity's place in the galaxy has been asserted, and the arrogant alien races have been put on notice. With a quiet nod, the commander turns to his officers, his voice resonating with unwavering determination. Set a course for the edge of explored space. We will establish a permanent outpost there, one that will serve as a testament to humanity's might and independence. Let the Galactic Council tremble at the prospect of our return. The officers salute and set to work, the massive warship surging forward with purpose. As the vessel disappears into the depths of the cosmos, the commander stands tall, his resolve unshaken. Humanity's future, it seems, will be shaped by its own hand, freed from the constraints and meddling of the Galactic Council. The stage is set for a new era, one where the balance of power in the galaxy may be forever altered by the unexpected arrival of this remarkable and unyielding civilization.